Oh, it's terrible. Oh, he's so roly. A little degenerate guy in a jumpsuit. And then it shows the groups marching in the background here in a moment. We'll pause it. Okay, we'll back it up to where it shows that, because I want to pause it and show people. If you look way back in the distance, you see them marching in big squares. Yeah, there it is. If you look back in the distance, you see the groups all perfectly lined up. Of course, there they are up front lined up. You see the groups marching in, the Citizen Corps. And these are the blessed people that get to have electricity a few hours a day and maybe 2 changes of clothes a month and get to work, only 16 hours a day in slave factories. They're the outer party. The inner party does have even better medical systems than we have here in the U.S., and sex slaves and everything else, and giant entertainment facilities. But that's less than 1% of the population. And you have the outer party. What are they, like 6-7% of the population? And the others, North Korea takes children at birth, has doctors check men and women who live in stalls, and then they procreate. This is the communist model, and take the children like you take eggs from a hen. And then they're sent to another part of the country so that the family is the enemy. Oh, and I have the textbooks they use at major universities, I've shown them on air, where it says the family belongs to an archaic age and must be eradicated. And the family is a disease. I just searched the term. Top government psychologist says the family is a disease. Yes, no, you are a disease of parasites who create systems against those of us that want to be free. You are the enemy of everything wholesome and good, and you produce misery and pain and suffering, which is what you like. You like it. You produce starving people with control freaks burning with hatred in their eyes in uniforms with machine guns, beating people, stomping on a face forever. That's what you produce, scum. All right, we're into hour number 2. In fact, I'm going to start going to your calls now, and then I'll get more into the Ron Paul, now the leader of the pack, and they're going to come after him big time now. After all of them saying he couldn't win, he's a nobody likes him, when he's been winning all the straw polls and in second, third, or first place in other states, now he's surging as people discover about Gingrich. Now they're going to come after Ron Paul, and we've got to defend him. Got a lot of other globalist news I'm going to get to, and some positive news as well out of China. But right now, let's talk to Brad in Idaho. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex. There's one important thing that I wanted to say that seems to be a problem with us here in America. And that's this idea, which I'm glad you don't go along with it, that we live in the end times. And it just causes good people to do nothing.
Yeah, they say, well, it's the end of the world. And then for secular folks, they got 2012. They're like, well, I'm not religious, but the Mayans. Oh, yeah, so, well, that was religious. It's the end of the world. And so they're playing on that, and that's why they inject it into the society that it's the end of the world. And then they have mainstream media saying that I say it's the end of the world, and I have people on the street going, is it the end of the world in 2012? Well, because of movies with the conspiracy theory talk show host in like 8 movies I've seen in the last few years. It's the Alex Jones character believes the end of the world's coming. So even though I never believe that, they will attribute it to me. See, that's how mind control works.
Sad thing is when you go to church, you hear it from the pulpit all the time. And I go to church regularly and go to men's Bible studies and whatnot, and I bring up these evil things that are going on, and they don't want to hear it because we're living in the end times. And the point I was wanting to make is, like, even great guys like Lindsey Williams, they say this kind of stuff, but just Exodus chapter 20, it says that God shows mercy to thousands of generations, about verse 5. Well, 1,000 generations, if you figure 20 years per generation, that's 20,000 years. So all this speculation that we're living in the end times is totally speculation.
Well, undoubtedly, a lot of what's in the Revelation and stuff is beginning, but always churches speed up the timetable. It's always the end of the world. And, Christ said, no one knows the time or day, and let them not deceive you, and pull up the actual quote. That's a paraphrase. But again, here's the deceivers, just constantly, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world. And again, let's say it was. God's not going to want to, and I don't want to get off into preaching here, okay? The point is, morally, you have a responsibility to save a child who's about to be run over even if the world's ending in a year. I mean, a lot of this is what I've seen. I don't want to criticize groups, but over in India, well, you're going to get reincarnated anyway, so who cares if a kid gets run over? Or who cares if there's homeless people dying on the street? Or, that's their karma. And really, the globalists in the last 120 years put this idea out. It was never in Christianity. It was never taught that it's the end of the world next week because it's just like a karma thing. Well, God's coming, so that's almost like karmic, like that's just the way it is. Again, it's a total self-fulfilling prophecy mind game. Hey, it's all over anyways. Hey, they were going to bulldoze this house tomorrow. Who cares if it burns down today? And then the house is burned down, and then it never gets bulldozed. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, I mean, it's a total... But listen, the people have always lived in denial. And so those guys are scared of cops. They're scared of their wife. They're scared of somebody not thinking their suit looks right. So they want to just sit there with each other and feel real good and let's pray and and they're the people Christ pointed at, the Pharisees, and said, look at them up there praying in public. You need to pray privately. Those are the people who want to be all up there. Oh, I'm such a good. Oh my goodness! Did you hear he played some of that fast? Rock and roll music, hit of the devil. Okay, well, sitting there on your hind ends, really of the devil, pal. Okay? You don't think I don't know I'm as evil as the day is long? At least I know it. Hi. All right, my friends, we are back live. We are now into the second hour. I want to go to your phone calls right now. And then I'm going to get to Welcome to the United States of America. Welcome to the United Police States of America, sponsored by Twitter. Twitter is now censoring even mainline journalists and saying, we're not going to allow you to have your free speech. Also, in China, the people are fighting back and taking back towns from the incredibly corrupt local party officials that run around acting like God. Unfortunately, they're totally buffaloed in North Korea because they've completely destroyed the family and everything else. See, tyrants figure out that if you can raise humans like barn animals and keep a subgroup that can't even read or write in there, that you pretty much got them. You got to go to the slavery model, though. And that's what the globalist model takes you to. The post-industrial shutdown, total control grid, while they fly around above us in Lear jets and Predator drones and surveillance blimps. That's the model they're building. So I'm going to get to that in a really creepy article out of Fox News. Exclusive, EPA ponders expanding regulatory power in name of sustainable development. They got the documents, and they say they're just going to not even try carbon taxing anymore. They're going to do that too. But that's not going to be their main push. It's just going to be everything. They will decide if you can have a business, a job, anything. And that's always been the plan. So we're going to be breaking that down. Also, again, Ron Paul is now the clear front runner. Gingrich has imploded to third place with 14 points at a new big scientific poll that's out. We're going to be going over that and a lot more on the economy front. But let's go to your calls right now. Let's go ahead and speak with Ezekiel. No, Annette's up first, and then Ezekiel. Annette in West Virginia, you're on the air.
Alex, I haven't spoken to you in a long time, but I want you to know the American people and those outside America owe you a very great debt of gratitude for all that you are doing to inform and give direction as to how to overcome this terrible conspiracy. Now, I've been into this research for 60 years. I started when I was a child. And I have a picture that you don't quite seem to manifest over the year. And so there's just one area where you seem to be somewhat myopic. So just give me a minute to go over some statistics, all right? It's regarding the Hitler regime. Now, when I'm speaking from the 1934 and the 1945 World Almanac and the Book of Facts, the Jewish population worldwide by religious beliefs, and that's according to the American Jewish Committee and the Jewish Statistical Bureau of the Synagogue Council of America, and the director was H.S. Linfield.
Okay, where are you going with this? I mean,
this is what I'm going to say. In 1934, the almanac said that when Hitler took power, there were 15,630,000 Jews worldwide by religious beliefs. When he left power in 1945, there weren't less Jews. There were 58,000 plus more. Okay? Now, I'll send you those statistics because they're from Jewish sources.
Okay, ma'am, are you saying that Hitler didn't kill any Jews or anybody, or what?
I'm saying that there are all. Hitler's issue was race. He found that behind communism were the globalists, and the globalists were from Talmudic Judaism, and their idea was to eliminate all the races, accept themselves, and to have a in other words, what you're seeing in North Korea is not only out of the protocols, but numerous other kinds of documents. I'm saying...
Hold on, ma'am. Are you saying you're saying North... Because I'm listening to what you're saying and trying to understand it, but you're saying North Korea is a Jewish thing?
No, I'm saying the principles are the same. You have a network of these globalists all over the world. They claim it in their writings, and that's why I'm surprised you haven't seen these writings.
No, listen. I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate your call. But all I know is that clearly there were groups of socialist Zionists who wanted to establish socialism worldwide. And I get that. There are different camps in every group. And I certainly understand that there have been all sorts of tyrannies throughout history. I mean, there were tyrannies in China before, a Jewish person ever stepped foot there. The British Empire running around. So over the years, I tend to try to stay out of saying Catholics run it all, or Masons run it all, or Jews run it all, or Mormons run it all, or reptoids run it all, just because people tend to always get into this stuff. I mean, half the internet is just battling, saying it's this group, it's that group. And there are groups that say that I work for every group. The Jews, the reptoids, the Catholics, the whatever. I work for liberty and freedom. And I understand there's groups in every group that want world government. It's like Pinky in the Brain. What are we going to do today? Same thing we do every day, try to take over the world. I mean, it's like the rock and roll song. Everybody wants to rule the world. I actually don't. Sounds like a nightmare. It's like these polygamists that have like 10 wives. That just sounds horrible. I mean, one wife's great, but I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities and things and the stuff that goes on. I couldn't imagine 10 women fighting with each other and all the stuff that would come out of it. I mean, it just sounds like hell on earth. But I want to be left alone. And see, good people never want power. And that's why evil always runs things, because we won't get in place, get in charge to stop them. And the founders tried to do it. They weren't perfect. But there is a total... Here's what I'm saying. I judge trees by their fruits, okay? And all I know is that the anti-Jewish crowd always starts out the same. I'm not anti-Jewish. I'm anti-Zionist. And then it turns into, actually, Jews are the devil. We need to get rid of them. And, Hitler didn't kill anybody, but you know what? Too bad he didn't kill them all. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that, read that, been told that, been threatened with that. We're going to kill you, you Jew. And meanwhile, I have the ADL attacking me, saying I'm basically, some kind of Hitler or something. And it's just all these groups act the same. It's all tribalism. And Israel engages in a lot of different brands of tribalism. I got an article here where they make the women sit on the back of the buses, even though they passed a law last year saying they can't. And, if you're in Israel, you can't, if you're Jewish, you get arrested if you marry somebody who isn't Jewish. I mean, that's like apartheid or something. But if you say that, you get attacked. I mean, I'm against all of that. I mean, especially